That's our philosophy. I'm gonna also tell you, I don't disagree with you, John, on disagreeing with me. So I respectfully uh, accept your point, but I don't want you to think like I'm not in any way saying no to Times Square. No, I'm just trying to. And when you want to give an analogy, you have to be a little bit more dramatic. Like you have to exaggerate a little bit to clarify. It's like you want to magnify it so it becomes a clear idea. So that's my point. I'm just giving it, but there's no possibility on earth we undermine the power of that location. It's it's a global stage. However, what I'm trying to say, there is something in business prioritization,
Mm.
the 20-80% rule, okay? You could do 20% now that gives you 80% of the outcome or the results. That's more clever. And I want to remind you, we say, my personal philosophy is we should leave no unturned stone. We would flip every corner of the planet at the end. But there are more effective things and go. And I really oppose the contrast or comparing, okay, Dubai, this, it's not the idea. But since we've talked about that, but I give you the logic behind it. So since we brought it up. So first of all, if OnPassive didn't own that metro station, they would have called it the Internet or Dubai Internet City Station.
Mm.
Mm.
So and so what it means actually is Dubai Silicon Valley Internet AI digital world, okay, metro stations. That's what it means. It's not downtown, it's not this market or that hill or that region. It is the Internet City station. So who goes there? People work in every tech company next door, like walking distance. We got Visa, we got Google, Visa and MasterCard. We got all the major banks, major universities, major. Those are our next door. Like you can walk across the street. Microsoft, Amazon, you name it. Hewlett Packard, the other one, Huawei, and that's who we're doing business with. So the employees who get on those, whether a lady or a guy, whoever it is, they work in an IT company for
Mm.
someone else at the moment. That is my target. Not
Mm.
only that, there are 190 plus nationalities. There's not a corner on planet Earth doesn't have connection to that. It's like a heart pumping blood everywhere. And those people have relatives back home. You know what's their conversation every time? How John, that is in Dubai now, want to bring Joe, who's not yet in Dubai, in Singapore, Philippines, or in America, or South Africa, or Nigeria, no matter where they are, to find a way to hook them up with a business opportunity to come there. You see how?
Yes.
So it's a beautiful attraction, and I'm not comparing. There's it's really unfair because New York City, New York City, Times Square, Times Square. So and you want that diversity, you want that uniqueness. We don't want everything to be Dubai Internet City. We don't want everything Dubai, Dubai, Dubai. Okay, so I love the diversity and all of that, but all I'm just proposing here is the timing of things. You could go ahead and jump from that massive platform, which is Times Square, and crack your head. Why? Because Microsoft, Apple, and the other big dogs and Amazon are your competitive or competitors. Now, you go to Dubai, you shine, and that's how you build it out, inside, outside. Okay, not the other way around. You're gonna crack because you're not the biggest. Okay, but they're looking for us, and then you pal up with the government and the authorities and the people with influence. Okay, and then spread across because they have connections with the Singaporean government, with people in Nepal, with India, with this, with Egypt, with this and that. So, but it's a strategic. Trust me, it's the best decision we've ever taken. And if
I
I
agree.
go back, I will do that again. But I'm
And
not
I
saying, Times Square is bad or worthless and all of that. but the timing is not ideal. We could suffer investing and not only money and hopes and expectation in the wrong place, but that will follow. Eventually, we will be everywhere, anywhere that it works. I'm not against that.
Right. Now, I understand that, and I accept that. And I wouldn't even compare, for example, what's happening in the train station in Dubai. That couldn't happen in the train that goes right into Grand Central, because, first of all, they would never, no matter how much money or deal you would make, they wouldn't allow that much. The advertising that's happened subconsciously and all that stuff, it just wouldn't happen there. But my point about Times Square is just that I understand exactly what you're saying, but I'm saying what I'm hoping at some point that we use somewhere like Times Square first when we get to the point of coming to New York, because when it's time for us to expose our company to the general public, not necessarily just what you're telling me about with the targeted traffic, and I understand and agree with you about all of that, but I'm anxious, I guess, to see where my fellow New Yorkers, and not just all the people from all over the world that are in Times Square looking, but the average person who also uses the internet and will be using and looking to use our tools, even if they're not the kind of people that need to be targeted for what we want them to be using our
Totally.
tools.
Right.
I want the
John,
general public to be able to
that's
see the
also another
advertisement.
angle. Yeah, yeah. What you're saying, not necessarily, from a business perspective, but there's also the branding, there's also the
That's
trust
right.
building and the social recognition and all of that. I completely agree with you. And it's gonna come, okay? But the uniqueness of OnPassive, okay, the fact that we're having this conversation and the expectation from the company is telling. Why? Typically, when there is a monetary pay plan in a company, if you market or resell or distribute our products, we'll give you uh, a commission, right? The theory up until this moment is either you do it and we compensate you for that with split revenue, or if we're doing it, why would we pay you? The beauty and the power of OnPassive, it's a very unique situation. We're doing disruptive things that average people are unable to do. It's going to be hard for them to do. You're going to be able to talk to your, you know, buddies. All right. Okay. But backed up by that monumental effort by the company, the branding, the recognition, the milestones, this, that, and the landmarks and so forth. Okay. Uh, the fact that you can invite somebody to come to Saturday show right there, no matter what happens. It's not small stuff, right? Always. And that is, it's hard to believe that an individual will get to this point where they can really have the connection or the authority or the permission to do heavy stuff like that. So it has to come from a company that is well perceptive or perceived in a way, and it has to come from a company that is really uh, not money driven. Okay, it's about making it easier for the general public, for the average people. So the combined effort, or that beautiful marriage between the individuals of OnPassive, what they can do as an individual, it's so much easier for them to borrow the authority to do that. I'm going to teach you after the one upcoming event in a different country. It's not in UAE. Once that passes, I'm going to tell you my theory, and I guarantee it's going to be a successful experience because we did parts of it successfully, and that has to be taught in the marketing books. Okay, why? Because I just had a philosophy. If you do that when you're not there, not fake it until you make it. You understand? I'll give you a hint. Okay, I am mm, weak physically. Imagine me. Okay, you haven't seen me, but in person, but you will. and you're gonna have that look like everybody did. Oh, that ash. Okay, it's not the same. Okay, but what I'm trying to say, a weak person, no muscles, saggy, a wreck. Like if I stand up next to The Rock, I don't want to say now Schwarzenegger or Stallone because they're old now and they're getting like us. Uh, but but uh, but The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, okay, he's gonna, he's not necessarily overshadow me, but he's gonna have a reflection on me somewhat. I will gain more power, not literally. I wouldn't change, but being next to him, you see, if I am next to the president, it will imply something. It will give you a different image. If I'm, forgive me, with a, you know, those who work in the street after midnight, okay? If I, it will give you a different perception about who, my personality. So you can borrow authority when you don't have it yet. You understand? By being with so and so until you are so and so. Not necessarily a person, but a region. I'm giving you a hint. Forgive me if it didn't come all the way in, but I'm just giving you a hint. So that's what we're doing. So it's, you don't have it. Who are you? Got to be realistic. But how can you be smart and creative in making it in an ethical way? Who you pal up with? Okay. So if you get the usual or the average, all right, just okay, you blend in. No problem. You're comfortable. They're comfortable, but it's not going to add to you. So you have to have that, you know, like if you're next to an elephant or if you're next to a rat, there's something. It's the same John, but that picture will tell me something different. I'm just giving you the visual.
Right.
Each
Yes.
picture. Okay. Yeah.
And I understand exactly what you're
You know
saying.
the
And
saying, walk with the giants?
uh-huh.
Uh-huh. Just like that.
Yep. I
Become
guess,
a giant. You're not a giant yet, but you walk with the giant, you blend in.
I think what part of what I'm about is that I'm anxious to have my not the targeted people now, but I'm so anxious. The reason I promote New York and talk so much about it is that I'm anxious for us to have OnPassive to where it becomes begins to be part of the conversation where people know when they hear it right here in the city and in America. I'm anxious for like my friends to not have to hear it from me. I want to hear it because they see it somewhere. And I think that's why I feel this way. And I agree with you. And I know you'll
But
know the time, but
we don't
we got to
also
be
are
there.
right about the progression. You know something about fishing. So if you want to fish, I don't know, a little baby yellowtail, right? Okay, or snapper. What do you need? Like live bait, tiny shrimp or a chunk of a shrimp. But if you want to catch, uh, what do you call those giant tuna fin? Blue,
Yellowfin.
bluefin, yeah, or what? It's like I don't know, 50 pounds or whatever. Okay, you need a big, the whole snapper maybe. Okay, live, and you're better off. Or if you want to have like a gigantic group or something. So the idea is if you out in the when you go to work, you're like a tiny bait, a piece of a shrimp. And if you're hoping to catch a shark with that tiny bait, not realistic. So you got to catch the snapper and build your way up in the reef. Then you go deep water. If Rob or anybody knows fishing, so you scale it up. You don't start, so you until you go deep in the game.